Republicans have officially won control of the House of Representatives, and we ask voters whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. And even more interesting, who's at fault for the disappointing outcome? Republicans win control of Congress, and 48% of U.S. likely voters say that it's good for America, and only 34% say it's a bad thing, while 14% say it's not going to make a difference. The spread here is much wider than you would expect, given the much narrower generic ballot results. However, there is a strong sentiment reflected here that American voters have very little trust for politicians and are inclined to want a split government. The party numbers are fascinating. Only 79% of Republicans say it's good for America that Republicans won Congress, but even fewer Democrats say Republican control is bad for America. Independents give Republicans an 18-point edge here, however. I think that what you're seeing is an environment where party definitions are at least somewhat beginning to break down. This poll is publicly sponsored by Raheem Kassam and the phenomenal National Pulse, a great site to follow for exclusive investigative journalism on topics like China, Big Pharma, and Hunter Biden. Since this is a sponsored poll, the story and the crosstabs are available to everyone instead of just Rasmussen paid subscribers. So follow the link in the description if you want to dig deeper into the crosstabs. My favorite detail here is that those with incomes over 200 grand are much more likely than those who earn less to say Republican control of Congress is bad for America. Pretty crazy, right? Voters are much less likely to say Democrats maintaining control of the Senate is good for America. Here, the spread is only 3 points instead of the 14 points Republicans had in the last question. Once again, there is most likely an aspect of satisfaction over a split in government being added to the good for America response. But looking at party, Republicans are 19 points less unhappy about missing the Senate than they were happy about winning the House. Likewise, Democrats are 18 points happier about keeping the Senate than they were unhappy about losing the House. Here are the independent results for both questions, however, showing that they're happy Republicans won the House, and they sort of wanted Republicans to win the Senate, but not by much. Republicans did not do as well in this year's election as many had expected. Who is most to blame for this? 16% of all voters say the individual candidates. 33% say Republican leadership, and surprise, surprise, exactly 33% also say Donald Trump. Only 11% say it's nobody's fault. Almost every single demographic has the exact same pattern, with most blaming Donald Trump and Republican leadership about equally and more than the other responses. That is, except for black voters, who are much more likely to blame Donald Trump over Republican leadership, 41% to 25%. But they aren't the reason we asked this question. We wanted to know what Republicans have to say. Republicans are most likely to blame Republican leadership for the outcome of this election. They blame leadership over Donald Trump by 39 to 24%, or 15 points. And Trump was blamed less than individual candidates and nobody's fault combined. The difference was even more stark among self-identified conservatives who blame Republican leadership 43 to 20 points. Trump gets blamed most among the demographics most likely to hate Trump, like Democrats, liberals, and black voters. And besides Republicans and conservatives, Trump gets blamed less among Hispanic voters, middle-class voters, and older voters. Out of all voter demographics, who is the most unhappy with Republican leadership? Those who strongly disapprove of Joe Biden, of whom 45% blame Republican leadership, while also saying individual candidates are even more to blame than Trump is. Now, is it fair that Trump captures as much blame as he does, considering he's a private citizen right now and not heavily involved in this election? Perhaps not, but keep in mind from last week that 72% of voters and 78% of Republican voters say that the Republican Party is now the party of Donald Trump and the MAGA movement. Clearly, Republican voters are unhappy, wanted a bigger win, and cast at least some of that blame on Trump. Was this video helpful? If so, please subscribe and like the video. I would love to hear your takes in the comments, and thanks for watching.